Hello, everyone. Welcome to Africa Life's How We Do It. This is a show where we interview entrepreneurs and people who are starting organizations. And really, it's to help explain to the rest of our audience how it's done, how they are doing it, and hopefully inspire you to continue in whatever organization or business you're building or to start a new one. So for today's show, we have Mr. Luke Josephat with Proud Dad Society. Mr. Josephat is a dad and a husband who cherishes his time with his family and friends. He's been a proud dad since 1996. He has adult children and toddlers, and he founded Proud Dad Society to help foster the values of health, fatherhood, and financial freedom for dads across the spectrum. He lives with his loving wife and children in New Rochelle, New York. Luke, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's a real privilege to be on your show, to be able to talk about Proud Dad Society. So I appreciate the opportunity.
Well, we're definitely happy to have you. Now, why don't you tell us, we gave you an introduction, but why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself, where you're from, where you grew up, and how that impacts who you are today, especially as a dad.
Yeah, so I appreciate that. I was born and raised in Haiti, and I came to America when I was about, 16, 17. And I've always grown up around entrepreneurship, see my mom building her business, my dad doing different things and supporting the family. And my takeaway and what really has been a foundation for me is to be able to see my father as a father supporting the family and ensuring that we were, instilled with values of health, values of being present in the family, community, and financial literacy and financial freedom. So that has really helped me to fully realize who I am as a dad, who I am as a husband, who I am as a friend, a brother, and to be able to pour that into the organization. Our goal is to work with others, fathers, mothers, parents who are committed, who are passionate about focusing, really being really intentional on the focus that we bring to Proud Dads. So my background, growing up in Haiti, seeing my father, seeing my mom, how they've built and developed the family structure has really helped me to start out with Proud Dad Society.
Oh, that's fantastic. So on that note, can you tell us a little bit more about the organization and how did the idea and the idea for the organization, come about to present day, from the idea inception to present day?
So my first child, my son, he was born in 1996. And I remember in 1996, while I was feeding him, giving him a bottle, I was watching a TV show. And during the TV show, one of the children was saying to their father how he's never been there for them. And at that moment, that planted a seed in me to always be present. And that presence, it sort of like created other tentacles, right? To be healthy, right? Because if I'm healthy, it allows me to be around, to be present in terms of engaging with my children, an engagement that's two-way, to hear them, listen to them, to instill values of good character, of humility, as well as boldness to face the world, and to also develop financial literacy and financial freedom so I can leave a good legacy for them. So, and that's how that has been a seed that's been growing in me, for a very long time. And finally, early this year, I decided during the pandemic, when in talking with other fathers and seeing some of the resources that were lacking for Proud Dad, I decided to start out, just with an Instagram page to share some good tips, based on videos and words of wisdom with other fathers. And so we developed our mission, right, to support dads to be healthy, present, and money smart in order to fully embrace fatherhood and all that comes with it.
Okay, and I think that's a great overview of Proud Dad Society. And I think at this point, let's see if we can drill deeper into what you're doing. So the values you're fostering are health, fatherhood, being present, and financial freedom. So let's talk about the challenges. So let's go with health. Them one at a time. Let's go with health.
So the challenges sort of like have three aspects of it, right? We want to address, kind of quiet down misinformations in order to be able to provide good information to our proud dads. So health, we know the CDC has data that shows the the number one rated cause of death for men across the United States is heart disease. So in other words, what we eat, how we move makes a world of difference in our health. And in order to help fathers to be around, to be present, we really focus on providing tips and resources for not only physical health around healthy eating, exercising, things to do, yoga, meditation, but also for mental health. One of the aspects that we're really looking at, and we want to drill down in an upcoming podcast when we're going to start around September, is to really talk about mental health as it relates to intergenerational trauma, right? So trauma that is unaddressed, that is not managed, we know that it can pass on to other generations. So our goal is to talk about intergenerational trauma for our proud dads to help them, one, to identify it and to be able to seek help and manage so it stops, it doesn't continue on, it's not passed on to their children, to their kids. So that's how we're addressing health. And one of the challenges with that is to really be able to provide a message that proud dads can identify with at wherever they are in their journey of fatherhood, right? So there may be some proud dad that are at different steps, at different level in that journey. And we want to be able to provide information for everyone on that spectrum. Whether you just had a baby now, how do you identify trauma? How do you stay healthy, both mentally and physically? And, or whether you've had children for a long time and you're just entering that, the focus to say, hey, I want to be healthy, I want to be present, and I want to be able to leave a legacy of financial freedom for my children.
As a dad myself, I think that is a very compelling story. That's a very compelling narrative. That is information that, if you could put it out there in the forefront for dads, there's a lot of information out there. But if we could blast that out and make it available and reach out, I think that would be really helpful for all dads and for the community.
Right.
And as you were saying that, it made me think, especially about the fatherhood part, being present. So part of that is health. Part of that is being, having the financial wherewithal to, sometimes you need financial freedom in a sense to spend time with your kids. So you're not overworking.
Yes.
So everything, it's like, as far as the core of the fatherhood and being present, everything in a sense seems to impact that.
Yes.
If you're not managing all of these other things, then you're just unable to be present. So it's, do you see it that way too, as everything having that impact on them being present?
I completely agree with you. It can be overwhelming, right? Because if you're managing 2-3 jobs, then it creates a challenge for you to properly spend time with your children. And our goal at Proud Dad Society is to offer tips where 1 or 2 minutes of quality time, if it's structured properly, right? we can offer an opportunity, even if you're managing all these things,
Right.
to find a moment to quiet things down, to spend time with your children. Way folks, fathers spend time can look very different than from one father to another.
Right.
So we want to provide opportunities for fathers who do not have certain resources, the
Right.
financial resources at that time, to find a way to spend time with their children. Whether it be showing your child what you do at work. And for fathers who have that opportunity, there are fathers with careers that they can take their children, that can take their kids to their job. Fathers who cannot do that can come home and have a conversation. Have that conversation with that child in order to either help them see how their work is helping the world. So that's a moment where you're engaging your kids. So our goal is to help proud dads to cut through that to find an opportunity, even in overwhelming time.
Maybe we should take a moment and say, well, Proud Dad Society on Instagram, where can people find you? Because I've been selfishly consuming the content. I like your videos. I like the journaling. We could talk about this. I mean, we could spend 30 minutes on journaling, which is challenging. I've tried it. It reminded me, hey, journaling is nice. Maybe I should get back into that. So you gave a lot of great tips. So I want to take a moment to tell people, where are you putting content out now? Instagram, I know, and the hashtags. And in the future, what can we expect? What's coming up for Proud Dad Society?
So before I let you and your audience know where you can find us, I just want to circle back just a quick moment to talk about fathers having the resources to spend time with their children. I want to be mindful that, as you mentioned, that a number of people may not have the financial resources to take a moment, to take a vacation to Disney World. But as I did in one of my videos to show that my dad, while he was working, one of the things that he did, he would play a game that I want to play. So I used to play marbles in Haiti. And once he played marble with me, and that had it had a lasting impact in my life, and it still is impactful. So sometimes it could be that, hey, do something with your child that he loves, that he's doing, even if it's for a few seconds.
Right.
Even if it's for a few seconds. Even if it's a question, right? Even if you ask a question and allow your child to explain it to you. So that's considered being present in your child's life. So as far as where we're deploying, how we're moving forward right now, we're sharing information, resources on Instagram and on Facebook. We have a page on Facebook, and if you need to see it, it's Proud Dad Society. On Instagram, of course, it's Proud Dad Society. So we are working right now on two things. We're developing a website where fathers can find resources, along with the videos that I do on Monday about fatherhood and on Thursday about health, where fathers can find that. And we're working on a podcast that'll start on September 2nd, where we're gonna have writers, experts in parenting and fatherhood to talk to our audience in order to help them embrace fatherhood and all that comes with it.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm glad now that, everybody knows where to find you, where to follow you. Should do that right now. You can pause the video, go check out Proud Dad Society, follow them. Great content. You're also funny. Can we talk about that? I was like, I didn't know. I mean, you're a funny guy, but the content is really entertaining.
Yeah.
So let's take a moment. Let's talk about, how are you creating this content? How are you coming up with, how you make it entertaining? What goes on into producing some of these videos and things that you're sharing? I mean, you shared one recently about how COVID has impacted and not your kids who are out of state, and your interaction with your I guess he's a teenager now. Your son is like So how are you creating this content, and just tell us a little bit about that.
So all content starts from two places. I pull source from my journey as a father, and also in conversations that I have with other fathers. And that last video specifically around COVID, it's been experience that I have, because generally, as you've seen in the video, my summers my house is packed.
Right.
There's a lot of interaction. There's camping. People are going to the beach. Different things are happening in my house. And this summer, the house just doesn't feel like itself because it's quiet. It's
Right.
not bubbling, moving as it generally is. And in conversation that I have with several other fathers, because I make it my business when I go out to interact, engage other fathers to find out what's on their mind. And so that video came about from talking with other fathers who were explaining how COVID had been affecting
Yes.
them. And there was one part of the video that I didn't include, but there are fathers who were talking about how COVID is affecting them financially to really support their kids because there are fathers who've lost their job, right?
That's
So
true.
that's affecting them negatively in order to provide financial support to their children during the summer. And in terms of being present, the inability to spend time with your child during the summer. We know there are many fathers with kids who are out of state, the summertime, major holiday, that's the time they really get to spend time with their kids. And when you have a big chunk of the year when you're not able to see your children, it can have, it can be a little bit of jarring, feeling out of place, a feeling of emptiness. And that's one of the reasons why I decided to do those videos. And
Yeah.
lastly, I don't know, my kids may not all agree that I am funny, but I've always believed that injecting a little bit of fun, a little bit of comedy into a message always allow folks to really absorb it properly.
Oh, absolutely. And as a dad, I just relate to all of them. So as you were talking, I realized during the introduction, I did not mention that you have 7 children. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes.
So I'm like, wait, I gotta come back a little bit and let people know your street cred, right? As a dad, you're bona fide.
That's right.
You've got people who are like, what? I mean, who have 1 or 2, and it's a handful. So you have 7. I think you don't have to say their names, but maybe give us a sense of their ages because you have grown men and you have toddlers. So introduce us to them and their ages, please.
So we have 3 older who are ranged from 24, 23, 20, and then we have the younger ones who are 19, 16, and then I have twin daughters who recently turned 7.
Right.
So yeah, that's all.
Can we just do a quick dad story there on that? Because
absolutely.
With the range of, because I have 3 children and they are clustered. One turned 10.
Yeah.
10, and then 7, and then 5.
Yeah.
So, that is what it is. So what is it like having the huge range, especially the twins who are much younger? What is that like? I guess in a sense, maybe some people like you thought you were done and now you have younger ones.
Yeah.
What's that like being a multi-generational dad in a sense?
So I love being a father. Like I really love being a dad. So for me, I've never seen it as a challenge, as a burden. I really love it. And my 3 older children, our relationship is very different than the relationship that I have with the younger one. And oftentimes I pull from my journey with the older one in order to inform what I'm doing with the younger one. So it's almost like I've gone through a metamorphosis, right? Because my older children sometimes would say, oh my God, when we were younger, you would never let us get away with it. And it's because that I've learned from how raising them, hearing them, listening to them, that I'm able to do an even better job with the younger one now. So one funny story is with my twin daughters. So my twin daughters, one of them is very active, very energetic like I am, and she knows how to get me to do what she wants. So when we're around in the summer, she'll say, hey dad, let's go for a walk. And the minute that walk starts, we know what's about to happen. Hey, can I get ice cream? Because she knows that I love taking walks, and she knows that as we're doing this walk, she's gonna get whatever she wants. So that's one way that I think my relationship with them. They get to see me. They understand me and how to get their ways with me. Whereas the older one are more conversation, right? We're walking side by side now, more like I'm sort of like a guide for them, right? To help them based on wisdom, things that I've learned. I'm a guide. So I would get a phone call. Hey, Dad, I'm thinking about this. What do you think I should be doing? And for me to simply provide information, give them resources, and allow them as adult to make those decisions. So for me, it's exciting. It's fun to be at one point providing advice, and at another point, right, seeing how that relationship has blossomed and work with the younger ones to help them to build, to grow that relationship in the same way. So that's very exciting.
I have to say, you almost want me to try that. It makes me feel like maybe I should try that, but I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see how it goes.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It comes with its challenges.
Absolutely.
But I'm the kind of person who sees a challenge and it's like, well, you know what? What can I get from this?
Right.
Like my wife always say that I'm an idealist. I'm overly optimistic because I'm always trying to find a way to see the good in any situation. So while there have been challenges, but those challenges have really helped me to be who I am. But more importantly, to allow my children, those who are adult, to be better human beings as well.
They have to start big. How did you start Proud Dad Society? How are you starting? And I guess what's your advice to someone, so how do you do it? And what would you share with other people on sort of how to do, what you're doing? What tips could you provide?
Yeah. So recently I was on a call with someone who she's called herself a brand therapist. I think her name is Naya the Creator. So if you Google that, you'll find her. She's called herself a brand therapist. And one of the things that she said, because I had been thinking about doing something like Proud Dad Society for a long time.
Right.
And because in my mind, I wanted it to be perfect. And one of the things that she said to me, and I want to pass this on to your audience as entrepreneurs, is that if you have to wait until it's perfect, you're starting it too late. Right? Awesome. And she got a little bit more detail. She said, if you cannot look back on something that you started, on the way that you started your business 3 months ago and say, man, what was I thinking? Then it took you too long to focus, to start it. So I want to encourage your audience who are entrepreneurs to start now, because I waited for too long. Right now, I started with Instagram to start little videos, share, but the goal is develop the website, develop podcasts that we already started to do, and to start where you are now. Share the resources, share what you have, start the company now based on your knowledge base, because that journey, as you're going through it, you're gonna learn from so many things that you're doing. So that's what I would say in terms of positivity for people that are starting. Start where you are right now.
I agree with you 100%, and you said it perfectly, so I won't add to that. I mean, if you missed that, just rewind, right? Yeah. Listen to what Luke just said, because you kind of have to start with where you are, what you have, and not aim for this sort of perfect initial rollout.
Exactly.
Now, on this, like I said, we could cover a lot. We don't have a lot of time, really just a few minutes.
Okay.
One of the things you covered from the very beginning, and I bookmarked it, was intergenerational trauma. Mm-hmm. That in itself could be its own show.
Oh, absolutely.
When we close, I had some questions for you about that, because I'm going to ask a stupid question just for my audience, because I have that question in case someone out there has that question. One, what is intergenerational trauma really? And when people say that, I'm like, well, are these challenges passed through DNA somehow? Is that what we're talking about? Or are we talking about habits that we pass on to our children? Or are we on some sort of spiritual thing, like, somehow spiritually or the spirit world we're passing down, I don't know, demons or evil spirits children? What are we talking about here exactly?
So the field of intergenerational trauma is fairly new. And while I'm not a therapist, I'm not a social worker, but from what I've been reading and talking with therapists and reading information, it's, transferring trauma to children happens in a very complex way, right? It could be post-traumatic stress disorder that you've experienced, and then you continue on by passing it on. It could be certain aspect of your life that you're suppressing, and then you're negatively pushing that onto your children. So there are very different ways. And matter of fact, one of the posts that we put on today on Instagram is to help fathers, proud dad, identify, right, intergenerational trauma. We have a YouTube link that we provided to people to identify. There's a therapist, her name is Tamara Hill, who does these YouTube videos that highlights, right, how to identify intergenerational trauma. And one of the things that she said is that sometimes people can call these things family curse, right? So for example, intergenerational trauma could be someone is unable to hold on to a relationship. Every relationship, something happened, it breaks away. And unless you identify that, you get therapy. Someone is thinking that, hey, in the best way for me to raise my children is to hit them. And it could be from a place of discipline, or it could be from a place of trauma. Trauma in that, oh, that's how my mom used to do it. That's how my dad used to do it. And passing that on, because your kids are going to learn, right, on what you put out. So identifying intergenerational trauma is extremely important in order so it doesn't continue on. So I posted it on Instagram today. It's also on our page on Facebook. But if you're not seeing this at the time that this video is released, you can always look up Tamara Hill, Hill. She's a therapist, and she speaks really at length and in depth about intergenerational trauma. And finally, when intergenerational trauma is not identified, it's not managed, it creates parenting skills in an environment that is toxic, right? That is inadequate, and it creates a cycle of hopelessness and helplessness that can really affect your children and your children's children.
Wow, that's heavy, that's powerful, that's deep. I'm glad we were able to sort of kind of peel back that layer for people, I think, and you gave us a couple of resources. There's a lot. So before we go, I think you kind of touched on it, but what can we look forward to in the near future? What sort of topics coming down the pipeline?
So in the near future, what we're working on now is developing a website filled with resources for fathers across the world. So no matter where you are, we will have resources there that you can tap into. Just like I'm mentioning therapists, we want to be able to have that for fathers that no matter what city, state, or country that they are, they'll do that. We're working on a podcast now that was launched in September, where we will be talking about with expert for parenting, for fatherhood, and other aspect of financial literacy and financial freedom for our proud dads. So we want to address everything that has to do with health. We want to address everything that has to do with engagement, parent-child engagement, to ensure that proud dads are present. And we want to ensure that proud dads leave a legacy of financial freedom for their children, in order for the children's children to be able to support themselves and everything around them.
That's fantastic. So if you're a proud dad, follow Proud Dad Society and Luke Josephat. If
yes,
you're a proud dad, which I'm sure you do, share the Instagram profile with them. And if you have any questions for, of course, you can put them in Instagram or the YouTube channel where we upload these videos. But you can also send an email to
ProudDad@ProudDadSociety.com.
Say that again one more time.
ProudDad@ProudDadSociety.com.
That's fantastic.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure interviewing you, and hopefully this is the first of many interviews.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the platform, and I encourage all the audience members to continue to subscribe and follow Afric Life for continued resources.